You should ask somebody what they did when they were at the stage that you were at, not where they are now.
So many things I want to respond to. So, number one, my embedded command to everyone is use if useful. Use if useful, number one. Number two, this is a documentary, not a sermon. This is a showing, like at least my content is like, this is me showing what's going on. And I try to be real. And that means that if I change my mind, then it'll change. Third, model the rise if you want the rise, model the plateau if you want the plateau. And so saying, Warren Buffett says that he had a great year if he only makes one good decision. It's like saying, to get rich, I should fly private. Doesn't really work that way. I should play basketball if I want to get tall. It's you're conflating variables, right? I should go to the gym once I have energy. I should start saving money once I'm rich. That's when I'll do it. It just conflates sequence, right? It's a when-then fallacy. And so I think I haven't talked about this in I don't even know if I've ever talked about this. The greatest skill is the ability to discern what things to use and what things to cast out. It is the central narrative of noise versus signal. And the reason that I've spent such a disproportionate amount of time focused on behavior was because there's so much noise that if people cannot translate their quote advice into what I should do, then there's nothing useful about it, which is why I think the density of useful information, I think people are bloodhounds for value, but I think that value gets translated in the most crystallized, distilled, concentrated manner when it can be translated into do this instead of that, period. Mm-hmm. And everything else, the amorphous words that people use, especially the motivation manifesto, or just manifestation, we'll get into that one. People get triggered on that. That is what leads more people astray. And so they take the entirety of someone and without all of the other conditions that apply to that person and say, I will take this and apply it to my life. Mm-hmm. And if you cannot pull out what is useful for you, you will never win. And that is a really strong statement. But because all you're going to be doing is trying to, and this is my favorite tweet that I've heard from Andrew Wilkinson from Tiny. Mm. Here are the numbers for my winning lottery ticket. Every entrepreneur explaining how they were successful. And so the next Google isn't a search engine, right? The best version of your life isn't copying Hormozi or copying Williamson. It's being able to, with nuance, apply the principles that are generalizable across domains, but then having the wherewithal, the discernment to apply the nuance to your specific circumstance. And being able to map those two things, I think, is the skill that has got me the disproportionate return on my life. I have bought, and I've been public about this, I've been, the earlier part of my career is very involved in what I would consider the alternative education, space, right? People, the courses, the world that has, I would say, a relatively bad reputation. But I have yet in my life to have purchased anything from anyone that I have not had an exceptional return from. And is that because of them or is that because of me? Who knows? But I can say that when I even had bad experiences, I could say, these are all the things that I will not do to a customer. And then I have my notebook of the crinkled can and the end that's off the center. And that ability to observe and pause before immediately taking action. Like there are some people that I have met where I know, I'll tell you this story because it's heartbreaking. I've helped a lot of gyms in my career as probably my second season of entrepreneurship. One of the things that we'll do to a gym to make it more profitable is we adjust pricing. Sometimes we send a price raise letter, and this thing's tested. We've done it hundreds of times. A guy, reaches out and said, "Hey, I did the whole price raise, and 90% of my members left." And I was like, "What? What happened?" And so he explained that he had a $29 a month gym, and then he raised it to $200 a month. That only works when you're a service business, not what I consider a facility usage business, where you're just like $10 a month crunch and it's just like you can use the gym whatever you want, you have equipment. My model was for people who had trainers and who were teaching, classes or sessions or semi-privates. And so in those instances, if you're at $99 and you go to $200, you're not going to lose half your customers. You might lose a third, but you still make more money, have more profit, et cetera. But he had taken what is otherwise something that has made so many gyms profitable and successful, and he applied it to a specific context. Now he says, I'm a gym owner. He said gym stuff. But then what happens is, for you and I, or anybody who wants to make content, if I were to say, okay, under these situations, under this particular context, if you have a decent relationship with your customers and you have ongoing communication, then you can say, it's like you don't. It takes 10 minutes of disclaimers to get to the point, right? And so then this is why fundamentally, like, winners will always win, because they will still be able to find, the silver lining even in the terrible experiences that will make them better. And my favorite visualization of the type of person that I want to be is, and this is a Harry Potter reference, but the sword of Gryffindor was made of dwarven steel, and dwarven steel in the mythology of Harry Potter could only take in that which made it stronger. And so it's not to say that the sword of Gryffindor couldn't cut butter or couldn't, just get into a sword fight. But if it happens to, kill a basilisk, then it will absorb the poison of the basilisk. And so, like, so many people lose because they want to prove that this too did not work, when in reality it was that you don't know how to make it work. And it has been easier for you to complain and say, this did not work the way that I would prefer, right? Rather than like, how can I make this work for me? How can I turn this into something that can still be a W? And I think that one skill has probably been the single unlock that I've been able to have, because like I learned these alternative, this alternative world of education of like, how do you sell? How do you run ads? How do you sell, courses? How do you do coaching? All this stuff that has a really negative kind of vibe. But the thing is the fundamentals of persuasion there are so powerful. They were just being used to sell stuff that's not good. But the thing is that there's so much buyer resistance there that if you can sell stuff in that market, when you go to sell insurance, you murder. And so I think people fail to take into consideration the context of the person who's giving the advice and what piece is useful that they should use. And the rest you can cast away.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Momentous. If your workouts feel flat, your recovery's slow, or you've just been feeling off, it might not be your training plan or diet. It might be something a bit more boring, like your testosterone. So, if you're not performing well in the gym or the bedroom, or you just want to improve your testosterone naturally, Tonkat Ali is a fantastic research-backed place to start. And when it's stacked with zinc, this can make a huge improvement in testosterone, strength, recovery, and energy, which is why I'm such a huge fan of Momentous's zinc. It supports testosterone, it boosts vitality, and helps keep everything running like it should. And if you're still unsure, Momentous offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it for 29 days, and if you don't like it, they will give you your money back. Plus, they ship internationally. Right now, you can get a 35% discount on your first subscription and that 30-day money-back guarantee by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modern wisdom at checkout. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ooh, beefy Alex Hormozi clip there. How about the full meal available right here? Go on. I have to come up with novel stuff to get you to click on things. Come on, press it.